afternoon, everybody. What is going on? Hope everybody's having a great day. So first thing I want to tell you guys about is Motorama. You're going to hear me mention this event. It is the next upcoming show in February. It's in Harrisburg. Motorama is basically a car, truck show, speed show. They got pretty much everything motorsports, hence the name Motorama. So we will be out there, me and my man Mikey G. We're gonna get a booth, we're gonna have a truck out there. Speaking of the devil, Mr. Muldoon, I think he's gonna be out there. He's gonna have a booth. Come out, come hello, come say hello, come hang out. It's gonna be a great day. Anyway, GREGA official weather report of the day. Let's go over it. Clear skies. It was about 45 today, fastly dropping down into the 30s. But anyway, what are we doing today? Today we are going to be fixing the old Turbski on the first gen here. If you guys struggle busting it here. Oh, come on. Ow. Man. Okay, if you guys remember hearing me talk about the little oil that this thing was spitting out, I mentioned that we do need to change the feed line to this turbo. This is a Turbonetics ball bearing turbo, and what is happening is I think it's getting just a little bit too much oil. I got the right fitting from Turbonetics. Now, it's not that I didn't listen or think that I was smarter than anybody there. It's just what we had laying around to get the truck running. It hasn't really run a whole lot, so I really wasn't too worried about it. Regional oil coming in. So we got the right stuff. That's what we're gonna do today. Very simple. We don't have a ton of time, but I'm gonna go over, show you guys, we're gonna remake an AN line, go over that, go over the fitting sizes for that filter housing, and then show you the special piece, actually, which is right in my pocket here, this little adapter piece. It's not good for my teeth, I know. But anyway, see this? You probably can't see that. There is a little screen mesh. It actually kind of looks kind of crappy and clogged, but anyway, this screws down inside the turbo. I will show you guys that. That is the first piece. The rest of the, oh, how is this box even taped? Alrighty, the rest of what we need in here. So what we're doing is we're switching to a number 4 line instead of a number 6 line. We have the appropriate fittings, the metric adapter piece, and the thing to then screw into that piece. So we're gonna get the old one off first, and then we'll bring it in here and remake it with this stuff. So just to give you a quick rundown here, we have our adapter piece into our filter housing. Our number 6, we have a 45 onto a number 9 here. This was our number 6 line. This was the original adapter piece that basically bolted down onto the top of the turbo with this flange, bolted through here, had a nice pipe thread to AN adapter fitting, and that is what adapted to our line right there. And as you can see, this is how big we had with the number 6, about pretty, you know, pretty big, pretty decent. Now, this is our number 4 stuff, which is gonna be very hard to see here. Come on. There we go. So that's what we're working with now. Basically, the new setup, same thing, metric to AN, but number 4 adapter. 45, gotta remake our line to our length. 90 going in there, and this adapter piece is what is now going to thread into the base of this turbo. Well, I know that it's probably almost impossible to see down in there, and I couldn't even see him too until the man from Turbonetics told me. He goes, I guarantee you, I sent him pictures and everything, that it is threaded down in there. I can promise you that. So that is what we are just going to double check right now. We're gonna try and thread this down in here and then make sure that's good. And then retighten up this. Basically this is, I think this is 1/8 inch pipe right here. So we need to go tighten this. Seems a little redundant for this one piece, but that's what we gotta do. All right, so that looks like it's good. I'm not gonna thread it down all the way. I am going to tighten this joint up first, and then when I tighten it back down, it will be in its final resting spot. So the adapter piece and our AN fitting are now joined together. Used a little bit of this thread sealing compound that I've used before in the past. It says pipe threads on it, and it says you know, diesel, gasoline, you know, up to like 10,000 psi of crap. So that stuff is good. I've used it a lot. It just seems to get everywhere no matter what you do. So we'll get that cleaned up. We're gonna get this threaded down in there. Now I'm not gonna use anything on the threads of this, seeing that's down inside the turbo, but we're gonna put this in, bottom this out, and then we can start making our new line. Also, for those wondering, this adapter piece into the oil filter housing, before I forget, this is a 12 by 1.5. Alrighty boys, we are losing light, but adapter pieces in the oil filter housing, adapter piece in the turbo. All we have left now is to make our new AN line. So here is what the factory cut end, which they cut from Vibrant. Oh, we're a little zoomed in here. All right, so here is the factory cut end, which we are going to use on the one side. What we're going to do first is we are going to put our 45 down on the oil filter side, and then kind of snake this up like we had it to get our measurement for the other side. So the general idea of this AN line, you got a two-piece fitting here. Two-piece fitting. This usually comes, you know what, let's go inside where we actually got some light. This is dumb. All right, so normally you have your fitting, which looks like this, a two-piece fitting. This unscrews off of this to give you your two separate pieces, which look like this. Here's the one end, here's the other threaded end. They screw together like this to form a somewhat of like a crimp connection on the AN line, which these are pretty much reusable, which most of the times they're not. But anyway, the general idea here is to slip this piece over top of this, kind of like so. Once we take this tape off, we'll be able to slip this over. All right, and hopefully you guys can maybe see in there, you can kind of see the edge of the hose pushed up into the fitting. A lot of times you might have to bang down on it to push the fitting up in the line. A lot of times these smaller hoses are a little bit harder to make. There's just less room for everything. So now, once that is in there, then this piece, you can kind of see it's beveled here on the tip. Come on. See how it's beveled a little bit. That then has to fit into this, screw into there, and press that hose up against this fitting. That's the general idea of it. A lot of times you will need a little lubrication. Put that in there, so that's what we're gonna do, and then we're gonna put this on the truck and measure for the other side. One tip also that I wanna add is when you are screwing this into the other fitting, you wanna make sure that this hose is not pushing out. You wanna make sure that this hose stays put inside here and it's actually forming that crimp and not just pushing the hose out. So hopefully that helps. Might want to keep an eye on that as well. Alrighty, so we got our one end, that 45 we just put together. That worked out perfectly fine. Everything is good on that. We've got it loosely secured to our mounting point on the oil filter housing, and you can kind of see we have our 90 loosely attached up here, just sitting right just like that, to get a good idea of where that hose needs to be routed. That's kind of how I always make the hoses. I always attach one end that I know is going to need to get put together. I put that together, and then I loosely put the other fitting, and then I can kind of tweak and manipulate it, and then kind of tweak it exactly where I think is going to be the best fit here with the fittings kind of already in place. That way I get a good idea of how it's all gonna lie. So once I kind of do that and I see where everything is gonna lie, I pretty much line it up with this one end of the fitting here, and I usually just mark it with a Sharpie, something like that. Looks good. So you can kind of see my faint Sharpie mark, just to give you an idea. When I was talking about lining it up with the fitting, I usually line it up right about there. See how this piece, basically want to line it up where it's going to be attached in here, and we kind of know that it bottoms out right about here on this bottom piece. So I usually line up the mark kind of halfway down that nut. That way you can kind of see exactly where it's going to sit. So just like this end is taped up right here, we're going to wrap that up with some good tape right in the middle of our mark, and then cut that with our cutoff saw. Now, they do actually sell the kind of like bolt cutter loppers, which I actually was gonna get, but I forgot to get them. But also, we are still using our very disorganized wrench drawer to tighten these down. Now, on these anodized AN fittings, they do make special wrenches, which I should probably have by now, seeing that we do these all the time. But you can do them with that. You just gotta be really careful not to scratch them, but they do make special wrenches for that. So that's what we're gonna do. We are almost finished with our little project here. Alrighty, there she is, all made up, nice and fancy, no scratches. Just gotta be a little careful. Now, the one thing I don't think I explained very well is why we are taping this. So if you look at our tape joint here, you wanna get this really nice and tight tape. You can kind of see how tight it keeps that stainless braid before you unravel it to put your fitting on. Now, this does get worse with bigger line. The smaller line is not as bad, but now you can kind of see, I cut this one without taping it. You can kind of see how it starts to flare out. Now, what that does is it makes it harder to get the nut on the hose. That's what it does. So you want to make sure you tape that up, keep it nice and tight. That way it makes it easier to get your bottom nut here piece on that. So we are now ready to assemble and be done and fired up. As you can see my breath. It is dropping drastically. Alrighty guys, and there you have it. The line is installed and done. See, now the nice thing about this is you can kind of see it is just a tad long. It does look a little long. It's not as tight as it looks to the manifold. I can stick my whole finger in here. So we might shorten that up at one point in time here coming up soon. See, the nice thing is if I just undo the whole fitting, I can then shorten that up, make it a little shorter, and we're back on the road again. So we might do that a little bit down the road. What we're gonna do now is fire it up, check for leaks, and we'll call this done and good. Alrighty guys, I lied to you. You know I couldn't leave it like that. I took it off, took it all back apart, shortened it by like an inch. Much better. Doesn't look so all that loopy out here. Plenty of clearance away from the manifold. Everything looks good. I can now actually get some sleep tonight, not thinking about how I didn't change that line. So we are good for the test fire. This thing hasn't been plugged in. Has not been plugged in. This is going to be a little bit of a cold start. As much as I hate to say we're doing a cold start video, we're doing a cold start video. Let's see how this baby fires over. Alrighty guys, that is it. We did it. Minor project of the night complete. Look at this hood. Look at this hood. Look at the first gen hood. Man, sitting outside here getting the wind, the weather on it. Thing is peeling faster than ever. Ugh. Makes me sad. Makes me cry inside. Alrighty, the last thing about AN fittings, I swear, is just the fact that you don't need to over tighten them. So if you look at this fitting, you can obviously see the cut and the angle on this. I'm not sure exactly what the cut is, but see this on the male, what you have on the female is just the opposite cut in the other way. Kind of hard to see down in there, but that is how this connection works. It kind of seals between those two angle cuts. So you don't need to over tighten them. You really just need to be snug on these fittings. They're not like pipe thread where you really got to crank them down. So hopefully you guys picked up maybe at least one new thing from doing all that AN stuff this time around. If you missed my last go around, hopefully that helped just a little bit. That's, if one person gains something, then it's worth doing. So anyway, small project for this evening. We got other plans going on, But I have to ask you guys a very serious question. Now, if you guys follow my Instagram, which you should all be doing, I posted the triples for sale. Now, I'm not going to get into what we're doing for next year. Honestly, my mind is all over the place on what we're going to do next year for the race truck. So this truck, you guys still don't know about. The race truck, we're undecided as well. But should we? Now, the manifold charger is a 488. Now, I had that on the manifold as the small turbo in this massive setup, but a 488 96 132 housing could definitely be the big turbo in a set of twins. It's already T6, so that big charger is actually pretty good for a twin setup. So should we keep the triples and maybe put like one of the 476s on the first gen when we P-pump it? That's right, we are still P-pumping the first gen. All the plans have just been kind of getting backed up because of the space in the shop and everything else, blah, 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 blah. But should we keep them? Should we repurpose them? They're good chargers. The 488 could be used as a twin for something. I don't know. We could get rid of them. We could say goodbye. I'm ready to say goodbye, but I'm also ready to keep them. So that's the question. Should we keep them? I already know you guys are going to say keep them, but put twins on everything. Compounds, I'm sorry. Somebody is going to get upset that we're calling them twin turbos and not compounds. Compounds turbo is the correct way of saying what they are. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it. Hit that like button. You guys, hit the damn like button. Just do it. Subscribe if you have not already. Tomorrow's video is going to be awesome. Stay tuned. Get subscribed. Tomorrow's video is just going to be awesome. I'm hoping that everything plans out, but that's going to do it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.